Hey everybody, welcome to tonight's Zoom call. We are really excited to be hearing from my husband Jarrett, wave to us Jarrett, and Jamie, and just learning from a guy's perspective about health and nutrition. And a lot of times, as the female in the family, we're the ones that buy the groceries, we're the ones that cook the meals, and feel like we have some say in how, food decisions and food choices are made in the families. But I think the guys in the family really underestimate the power and the impact that they have and helping to lead the family to better health choices themselves. And I know when you think about if you're on an airplane, when the stewardess is talking about I probably should say the flight attendant is talking about what to do in case of emergency. And she says if there's a mask that falls, an oxygen mask, what does she say? Does she say, turn around to everybody and put everybody else's mask on until you pass out? Or does she say, put your mask on yourself and then assist the passengers that are with you? And oftentimes as parents, and especially as dads, I believe you guys are great about protecting and providing, and you do so much for the families, and you're very careful to do that for them, but you often forget your own oxygen masks. You work long hours, and it's, a lot of dealing with kids and with your family and with work and responsibilities at home. And there's so many things that can crowd out your ability to make wise food choices. You're looking for quick, easy fixes. And it's that simple neglect over time can really make an impact. And when we look statistically, women outlive men, and that means, your wife and your family can be left behind, or just we're going to be talking even quality of life today. A lot of this is going to be quality of life. So my hope is that I can share our family's experience and what we have dealt with over the last 13 years that has really made a huge impact and really taken our family on a different path, a whole different path to better health. And I'm so thankful that we were introduced to Juice Plus and this concept of eating healthy because we were in our early 20s, and if you had asked us if we were healthy, we would have said yes. I thought that I fed our family well because I opened a can of green beans the night before, and we had a salad when we went out to dinner. That was what consisted of our vegetables and our fruit, and so to be able to find an easy way to bridge that gap was just really encouraging, even though we didn't really understand why. I always thought that disease had more to do with your genetics, because that's what the doctor asks when you go in. They ask you for your information that way, but they really never talked about lifestyle choices and eating habits and those type of things. So when we were introduced to Juice Plus and this concept of whole food nutrition and disease prevention, it was an eye-opener for both Jarrett and I. And I remember it made sense to me because I was struggling to get our littlest, our baby at the time, he was about 14 months old, to eat raw vegetables, but I didn't even know why he needed to eat them. And like I said, I thought we were healthy, but we were right on the edge of a health crisis, but we had just gotten so used to it. That was our normal. We didn't even recognize how sick we were. And that's where I want to bring Jarrett in for him to tell his story. So Jarrett, if you can unmute yourself and you can jump in here and kind of tell your story, starting with in college and kind of what happened your senior year.
Right. So thanks for that introduction. And like Stacy said, we've been on this health journey for 13 years. We'll be married 18 years in June. So for the first part of our marriage, we really didn't know what we were doing health-wise. Thought we were, but we weren't. So I want to start where I was, and I want to start when I was in college, because it was the first time that I was away from my parents and their influence and their hold on me. So I thought, I'm young, I'm invincible, I can eat whatever I want. Now I went to the Air Force Academy, so that was limited, but I still had a choice in what I could eat. So by the time I was a sophomore, I was eating one meal a day, and that was only because they made me eat that meal. That was lunch. And then the rest of the time it was Mountain Dew. We would buy a case of Mountain Dew at the beginning of the week, and then I would buy Snickers or whatever other candy was available in the snack bar, which was right down from my dorm room at the time. So a lot of late nights studying, that pretty much kept me going through my studies. That's what I was eating. And I did that by the time I was a junior, same thing. So by the time I was a senior, by the time the fall semester rolled around, so almost 3 years now that I've been subsisting on Mountain Dew and Snickers, but I didn't really care. When we took a physical fitness test, I could do 100 push-ups in less than 2 minutes. I could do 21 pull-ups in less than 2 minutes. I thought I was healthy, but I was very, very sick. So by the time the fall semester, my senior year rolled around, I got pneumonia. I took a physical fitness test, and I started getting a pain in my left side here, and it got worse and worse. It felt like somebody was stabbing me in the chest. I'd never felt that pain before. So by the time I got to a good doctor, and I wasn't going to the cadet doctors, I finally went to the emergency room. I had pneumonia so bad, my left lung was filled completely, so I was drowning. My left lung was completely filled with fluid. I was in the hospital for 10 days, and 4 of those days I had a chest tube. Was very sick, and it was very, very painful. On all kinds of medication, all kinds of antibiotics. You can't imagine the antibiotics I was on. So it just really threw me for a loop. And so obviously I recovered from that, graduated. Stacy and I got married, but we just continued that process, our eating habits. And I caught everything. If somebody came in with a cold, I knew within a couple of days I would have a cold. If somebody had the flu, I was scrambling, running to get out of there because I knew I was going to get the flu. And the first real job I had, I was starting to get UTIs, urinary tract infections. I mean, I had never had one of those before. And now I was getting those on top of the flu, on top of bronchitis. And as a matter of fact, 4 years in a row, our first 4 years of marriage, I got pneumonia every year, sick pneumonia. It was walking pneumonia. I never had my lungs fill up, but I was very concerned, very worried, and on a ton of antibiotics. So I was just very, very sick.
Yeah, and that really affected our marriage in a lot of ways because we lived in Boston. I wanted to go do something fun. I wanted to go see something. And Jarrett just was sick. He didn't feel good. And we always say if we had a GPS and Juice Plus when we first got married, maybe our first couple years wouldn't have been so hard. Traffic was terrible in Boston. And so it was terrible to see Jarrett sick that way. And it was really when we were introduced to Juice Plus that things changed for Jarrett. Those same antibiotics that saved his life wreaked havoc on his immune system, and that's why he was struggling so much and caught all of the colds. So what's funny is that I never thought, hey, what could I do to build Jarrett's immune system back up? It never even crossed my mind that there was anything, because remember, I thought we were healthy. And so it wasn't until we got his health back that we realized just how sick he was. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see it. And there's not a way for me to lock the screen right now. So just know if you do write on the screen, the rest of us will be able to see it. But I'm going to go ahead and share this and then walk through some slides with you. And Jarrett's going to share the rest of his story. And Jamie's going to share his as well. So we'll start this here from the beginning. And really we got to think about, what does good health mean to us? So for some people it is eating healthy, making wise food choices. Like Jarrett said, he thought it was being fit. And if you could do so many pull-ups or sit-ups, then that meant that you were healthy. Disease prevention, thinking long-term, and then, having the energy to do life. So I just want you to think in your mind, what does good health mean to you? What does that look like? What is optimal health? What's something that you're reaching for? There's a reason you're on the phone or on this Zoom call tonight, because that's obviously important to you. So having a good picture, a goal of what that looks like for you, that's a good thing to have in your mind, and it's very helpful. So let's just talk about some of the statistics in America right now. So this is the state of America's health. Heart disease is the #1 killer of Americans. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 2 men will have cancer in their lifetime. 1 in 3 will have diabetes. 1 in 3 is obese. And I know here in the South, it seems like it's more than 1 in 3 that are obese. Being overweight is a joke here, and it seems to be a joke for guys. It's just funny, and it drives me insane because it's not funny. It is not funny for your wife and your kids to be burying you because you had a heart attack because you didn't take care of yourself, or vice versa, husband doing the same for his wife and the kids having to deal with that. It's not a funny thing to be overweight, and it's a very serious issue that people just aren't talking about. And being a big old boy in Alabama seems to be just the way it is, and people don't realize it doesn't have to be that way. That's one of my core missions, I guess you could say, is to open people's eyes to that. 70% of Americans are on 2 or more prescription medications, and 25% of those are children on 2 or more prescription medications every single day. If you go to the doctor, they always ask you, what medications are you on? And 70% of Americans are going to have 2 or more of them listed. 80% of US teens are eating diets that put them on a clear path to heart disease. So I think even that right there, we've got to open our eyes to realize what our kids are eating today is going to affect their health in the future. It's not something that we can avoid, but we can be proactive, and we can protect their health. And that was something that I never really understood. I thought I knew the foods that were bad for us, but I didn't understand the power of food, the power of fruits and vegetables to help protect us. And this is actually where I would like to bring Jamie in, and for him to share his story. Jamie, go ahead and share your story. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah. So thank you, Stacy. For my story about Juice Plus is a little bit different. So a little bit about me. I'm a husband, a father. I'm a business owner. We own an insurance agency, so that keeps me busy all day, every day, just about. I fly part-time on a medevac helicopter. That's what I used to do in the past. My sons and I have a woodworking business that we work. We work in the evenings and on the weekends doing woodworking. And then I also am a volunteer fireman or a fire medic, and I volunteer one night, all night long, a week for our local fire department. And so the point there is that I'm going all the time, 24/7. I'm going, and I never thought that I was in bad health. I mean, I've always been either very active or semi-active, kind of off and on like that, but reasonably active my whole life. And I thought I felt pretty good. And the thing about how we feel sometimes, I think, is that we don't realize how bad we feel until we feel good again. And then that's when we realize, my goodness, I didn't realize how bad I really felt. And I bet Jarrett probably can say the exact same thing. Is, sometimes you think you feel fine, and then you don't realize how bad you really felt. So about a year in May ago, that I went to a sit down with Stacy and my wife. And Stacy had been talking to my wife for quite some time and just sharing things about Juice Plus and nutrition and health and things like that. So I went to a sit down with him. We talked about it, and just immediately I really thought this was something that would be beneficial for me and my family. But my approach to it, for me personally, I can tell you all sorts of reasons why it's beneficial for my family. But from a guy perspective, for me, my personal motivation was 2 reasons, really. One, because I'm always going, I'm nonstop, and I am this probably like a lot of other people that I'm the sole income earner in our family. Years ago, we decided in my family that my wife would stay home and take care of the kids. So we have one income in the family, and so I'm the sole income earner. If I'm sick, then that significantly affects our family. And so my personal motivation is that I don't ever want to get sick. Like I never want to get sick. I want to do everything possible to make my body able to fight off whatever comes my way. So colds, flus, sinus infections, whatever it is that people get throughout I don't want any of that, because if I get that, if I'm not working, I don't get paid. And, so one of my big motivations is that I don't ever want to get sick. Secondly, is with the rising cost of healthcare, I don't want to pay prescriptions and doctor visit copays and all that kind of stuff. I didn't realize how much we paid for doctor prescriptions and copays until I went back this year. The accountant asked for some numbers for our medical bills, and a couple of weeks ago I tallied it all up. Then I gave it to him, and he said, "Do you realize how much less you paid in medical out-of-pocket medical this year than you did last year. And it hadn't even dawned on me. But 80% less. And I haven't even shared that with you, Stacy and Jared, but 80% was the numbers less this past year than what we paid the year before, just in copays and prescriptions. And so I've got 4 kids. And so, you would think that they're going to be in school catching this, that, and the other and bringing it home and giving it to me. And my kids have not been at the doctor for being sick since we started Juice Plus. And so, our out-of-pocket has significantly decreased because of just being healthier. I'm not going to say that we haven't gone, times where some folks are less passionate about taking it than others. I mean, there's a couple of us in the family that are religious. Like, we're taking it no matter what. Like, you forget it, you're down the road and you forget it, you're going to go home and make sure you take it. That's me, because I am not going to get sick for anything. And I've never really been a real sickly person, but I just know the older I get, my body's, there's more stress on it. The older I get, the more likelihood that I'm going to catch things. I mean, even when the flu and the strep and colds rifled through my insurance agency and everybody that works for me got sick at one point or another, I never even thought about getting sick. I used to have this idea when I first started taking Juice Plus. I used to have this idea. I would say if I felt a little sniffle or a little rumble in my tummy or something like that, I would take some extra Juice Plus and I would say, oh, I hope I don't get sick. I hope I don't get sick. And it was a hope to start with. A few months passed by and I said, you know what? I mean, I don't even have to hope anymore. If I'm starting to feel a little, like I might be catching a little something, I'm going to take an extra dose of Juice Plus and I'm not getting sick. I just know I'm not. Not to say that this is some magic, potion or anything like that. I'm sure that I'll get sick down the road somewhere, but it has kept me well, and I'm 100% certain that the Juice Plus has given me the nutritional foundation that allowed my body's immune system to be able to handle whatever came my way. And so that's the thing, that there's no way in my lifestyle, and I don't think I'm the anomaly here, but in my lifestyle, there's no way doing all the things I'm doing that I can get the nutrition that I need from eating the food I'm supposed to be eating. I don't see how I could. I mean, there's a lot of days I don't take lunch. There's a lot of days when I might eat at, 8:00 at night or, whatever it may be. And I'm sure you guys that are listening, you're probably the same way. I would love to get the nutrition that I need. I just know I'm not going to. And so this allows me the opportunity to know that even when I'm not getting the right nutrition, that I'm still eating the right nutrition. I'm still going to get the right nutrition. And so, for me, it keeps me never getting sick as much as possible anyway. And it has significantly reduced my out-of-pocket medical bills. And so, my hope of never getting sick turned into a virtually never getting sick. And for me, I am 1,000% believer. And for anybody that, that may be thinking, well, I'm a little skeptical. It took me a year to really personally validate it myself. I've tried some other supplement type products and things, and I wanted to really validate it myself because I don't want to share it with anybody. I didn't want to talk about it until I was convinced that for me personally and my family, it was beneficial. And so I took a year to do that. And along the way, I researched it. I read the research that goes with it. And it made me a 100% believer in making sure that I'm able to take care of my family like I feel like I'm supposed to by being healthy enough to go to work every day, handle the things when I get home, whatever the case may be. If I got to, take care of kids in the middle of the night, whatever the case may be, I know that I'm healthy and able to do that. So.
Thank you, Jamie. That's great. And it's great to have that layer of protection. And that's what we're really going to be talking about tonight. And I want to give you, we're just going to kind of go from here and talk about some of the things that Jamie mentioned. When we're looking at our daily lives, because we're busy, we're running here and there, you've got long work days, and you have to be very super intentional about what you're eating to be able to make a plan to eat healthy. But our striking reality is that 90% of the food eaten in America is processed. So that's processed from a restaurant food. It's food that's in the middle of the grocery store, not on the perimeter. And I've heard people talking to them, they say, if it's not out of a box or a package, we don't eat it. And they're not eating hardly any fruits and vegetables at all. And we live in a time where our children are more harmed by poor diet than exposure to drugs, alcohol, and tobacco combined. And, we're terrified of our kids being involved in drugs. We talk to them about not drinking alcohol, not smoking. We cover all of those bases, and yet by what they're eating, they're being more harmed by that. And what we are choosing to feed them as the parents, and what we're eating ourselves, what we're being the example. And experts agree that 75% of diseases are preventable through good nutrition. I want that 75% on my side. I want that to be on the side of our family's health versus playing a role against us. And really, it goes to eating real food. And real food doesn't have a label. This is what's on the perimeter of that grocery store, everything on the outside. If we say, if your food doesn't rot or sprout, to throw it out, because bacteria should be able to grow on it. And I have a hamburger that's months old. I have one really that's about 6 years old, but the people that look at it end up breaking it in half, and it's all in tiny pieces. But I have one that's probably about 2.5, 3 months old, and it looks exactly the same as the day I put it in. The bag that is around the French fries and the bag that it came in will disintegrate before the hamburger and the French fries ever even become, it looks the same. It looks just like that picture on there. It just turns hard into plastic. And we think that this is a treat for our kids. It's something quick, just go through the drive-through and, maybe get 2 hamburgers or, triple patty hamburger or whatever, and think, well, I've got to have fuel to be able to get done what I need today. And it's just something quick, it's easy. And like I said, without a plan of what you're going to do, it's going to be default to something that's quick and easy, and usually not very healthy. So making a wise food choice from the very beginning really is one of our better choices. So 150 different doctors researched 4,500 different studies on what keeps us healthy. So like I said, we talked about what not to eat, and I knew not that, hamburgers weren't that good for us, but Jarrett and I lived from about 5 minutes from Wendy's, and we know it was 5 minutes because we timed each other to see who could get there and back the fastest. And it was a lot of times at 10:30 at night that I would say, hey, Jarrett, go get us a hamburger. And we knew it wasn't good, but we were in our early 20s, and we, thought somehow it would bypass us, but we were feeding his poor immune system that was already weak. We were weakening it even more with the food choices we were making. And what these doctors found is that the only common denominator is a diet rich in fruits and vegetables. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sometimes you think, well, I do eat fruits and vegetables. Or on the other side, I don't like fruits and vegetables. I don't eat them. Or sometimes like the fruit, the strawberries, the bananas, those are for the kids. And a lot of times husbands, dads will save that for them. And they'll let the kids eat the fruit, but they don't eat it themselves. And maybe salads are for girls. I think our 14-year-old totally agrees with that. Somehow salads are only for girls. So it just doesn't get eaten. But the USDA recommends that you fill half of your plate with fruits and vegetables at every meal. So you may feel like that must be your plot in life, that you have to eat that huge plate of broccoli. It gives you a hair on your chin, obviously, if you do. But when we're really looking at who does that, most people just can't, don't, or won't. And if it's supposed to be half of your plate at every single meal, that's not just dinner. And that is usually when vegetables are eaten. It's a couple of maybe one option at dinner of a very cooked vegetable or something out of a can. And for men, you should be eating 9 to 13 servings a day of fresh raw fruits and vegetables. So I'll say that again, 9 to 13, thinking that a serving size is slightly smaller than the size of your fist. And that's when we're talking disease prevention. And so let's talk about why. Why are fruits and vegetables so healthy for us? What role do they play in preventing disease? And it has to do with oxidative stress. So oxidative stress is linked to poor health. You've probably heard the word oxidative stress, maybe free radicals. You've heard that before. In each human cell, the DNA is hit about 10,000 times a day by mutagenic antioxidants. This is a quote from Dr. Bruce Ames, and he also says that every day that you don't eat enough fruits and vegetables is like standing in front of an X-ray machine. Now, we would never take the kids and ourselves to an X-ray machine every single day to be x-rayed. We know that that's not healthy, that stress on our bodies, that could cause disease, cause cancer, cause mutations in our cells. And that's from the oxidative stress that radiation would cause. But Dr. Ames said the same thing. If you're not eating enough fruits and vegetables, you're getting the same amount of damage as if you were having an x-ray done every single day. And that picture there, that graphic shows you from a normal cell, then a cell attacked by free radicals, and then what it looks like with oxidative stress. That cell is the building block for all of the tissues in your organs and your whole body system. So it tells the next cell how to reproduce, and if it's already damaged, then it's going to tell the next one to be damaged. I think an easy way for us all to understand this is, think about metal. If you leave metal outside in the rain and the elements, it begins to oxidize. There's oxidation that takes place. It begins to rust. And if you paint that metal ahead of time, like a car, you put an antioxidant on the car, that paint is going to protect that metal. But if you're driving around and you get hit by a rock and there's little dings of paint that get off, if you don't paint over those, over time, those hits are going from the rocks and that paint getting chipped off, it's going to spread, and that chip paints off even more. There's not as much of the paint to cover that metal, and it begins to rust and oxidize the same way. So just like that paint is our antioxidant for the metal, it's also the fruits and vegetables are our defense. They're the antioxidants that protect our cells. It's like the protective coating or a shield, if you think of it that way, that keep those oxidative hits from hitting onto our cells. And they provide the antioxidant. And I know you've heard of that word, and maybe you're like me, I just didn't know what an antioxidant was. I just knew blueberries had a whole bunch of them, but I didn't know how they worked. But it's absolutely needed for healthy cell performance. It's not something we can skip. And yet most people know that their diet is lacking in nutrients, and so they tend to rely on a vitamin to fill that gap. But really, nature cannot be duplicated. We know that it's not the same as when you eat those fruits and vegetables. And here's why. Vitamins, like in this picture, this handful of vitamins, these are isolated nutrients. It's pieces and parts of a plant that have been taken out, removed from its natural source, reproduced chemically, and then put into a chemical vitamin. Well, when you do that, you're losing the other nutrients that it works synergistically with. So on the right, you see this list of it's about 100 different nutrients that are on this list. It would take 25 pages for me to list everything that is in one apple alone. 25 pages. There's always over 11,000 nutrients that they have found. Those are vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, meaning plant nutrients, antioxidants, that they've been able to find and name over 11,000. So if you take a handful of vitamins, maybe you hear one buddy say, hey, you should take this, this vitamin, it's good for joint health. And then the next trainer that you go to, he recommends, vitamin E for this. And you read a magazine article and, it says to take this calcium or whatever it is. You can end up with this handful of vitamins hoping to piece together what your body needs, and yet it's in a fractionated, isolated source. And if you've ever taken vitamins, it doesn't take very long for your urine to start changing color and smell, because your liver and your kidneys have to filter those vitamins. So if a vitamin is not the answer to filling that gap, to bridging that gap, what do we do? How do we fill that gap if we're still not eating enough fruits and vegetables? And we know average American consumes less than 2 servings a day, and I have definitely found that over the last 13 years of working with people, that when I ask them, it's usually around 2 servings a week that they're eating, and it's just not enough. So if we can't, don't, or won't eat enough fruits and vegetables, yet we know the impact that they have and the protective benefit abilities that they have, what do we do about that? How do we solve that problem? How do we bridge that gap? And that's what I want to talk with you about today, of bridging that gap with one simple change. And this is where Juice Plus comes in. And Jarrett and Jamie both shared how Juice Plus impacted their health. And I'm going to have Jarrett share at the end. So you heard about him being sick and what it was like to get his life back, his health back, and how that changed our whole family's dynamic and really his whole life. But we're going to talk about these things. What you're going to see on the right-hand side is called a tower garden. And this is a way that you can aeroponically grow your own fruits and vegetables anywhere in your yard. We have 2 outside. You can grow it indoors with grow lights during the winter like we did. And you have fresh vegetables for stir fries, for salads, herbs to cook with. It's really just an amazing thing. And I know Jamie's going to be putting one in his office down in Montgomery at work. And it's a great way to incorporate the kids in growing their own food. They will eat things off the tower garden that they grow that they wouldn't eat out of the grocery store because they had a hand in it. And it's just really neat to be able to do this without soil, without the same amount of bugs that you have, without weeds, and to easily grow your own vegetables that water themselves. And that's the only reason why my plants survived, is because the tower garden waters itself. So if you want information about that, let us know, because we'll be happy to share that with you. But I want to share with you, we talk about flooding our bodies with fruits and vegetables with Juice Plus. It's not an isolated vitamin. It is the whole foods. It's what you see here. And I'm going to actually read off these ingredients because just ask yourself, as I'm reading this, would you be healthier if you could eat this every day? So we have acerola cherries, alfalfa sprouts, amaranth apples, artichoke leaves, beets, bilberries, blackberries, blackcurrant blueberries, broccoli sprouts, cabbage, carrots, chickpea, cocoa, Concord grapes, cranberry, dates, elderberry, ginger root, garlic, grapes, green tea, kale, millet, oats, orange, papaya, parsley, pea, peaches, pineapple, pomegranate, prunes, pumpkins, quinoa, radish sprouts, raspberries, rice, soy in the form of edamame, spinach, spirulina, tomatoes, and yucca. I lose breath just reading that list. But to know that we can start our day with all of this and this variety. I like fruits and vegetables. I don't mind eating them at all, but I don't eat those every single day. I may have artichokes, twice a year in a salad or in some sort of artichoke dip as an appetizer, but I don't eat that every day. Or parsley, I've never just walked around munching parsley. So there's a wide variety, a wide range of colors that we get through the produce and Juice Plus that I just would have a very difficult time getting our 14-year-old son and our 12 and 10-year-old daughters to eat every single day. So that's one of the beauties about it. Juice Plus is 30 whole foods. Like I said, this isn't a vitamin. It has a food label. It has a nutrition label, just like your loaf of bread or your bag of apples. It has those phytonutrients, the plant nutrients we talked about. It's non-GMO ingredients, dairy-free and gluten-free. It's NSF certified, which really means it's a third-party quality assurance company that tests to see what's in the labels in the bottle, and what's on the bottle is on the label. I think I said that right. And then it's clinical. It has clinical research behind it. When we started taking Juice Plus, there were 7 clinical studies that were done with Juice Plus. Now they have over 30. I know the total's up to 35, with a couple of those still being printed. But clinical means it's done with humans. It's not on lab, in the lab, in a test tube, or on rats. It's when people take Juice Plus, these are the things that they have found. The Juice Plus Complete, that was some of the ingredients that I read. This is a whole food, plant-based smoothie mix, and it is a great source of protein, of plant protein, which your body uses very different than it's going to whey protein. And it makes a really creamy smoothie. It's really delicious taste. We've had one almost every day for 13 years, and I'm not at all tired of it. It really sticks with you, and you can go a long time. Our son uses it as an athlete, as a pre-workout, so he will drink it a couple of hours before, even an hour before, and then sometimes as a recovery afterwards as well. But he says he can tell a difference when he uses it or he doesn't. He plays baseball, and I remember him he was in a really good routine of drinking a shake before practice, and he didn't drink one, and he came home and he said, I will never do that again. I felt terrible. I didn't have my shake. So he can tell he does have more energy and just more vitality when he does take that. Like I said, it's plant-based protein, chickpea, peas, rice, tofu, and soy. And I'm going to stop there just for a second, because a lot of times guys will say, oh, soy, I can't have soy. There's a lot of myths out there that soy causes men to grow breasts. And we just heard this great message from Dr. Phillips, and he was saying, there is not evidence that shows that there is an increase in estrogen in men's body when they drink soy, and nobody has ever had any evidence that it makes a man grow boobs, is what he said. So that was very helpful to hear that. But I've got a lot of information about soy and the protective benefits that it has towards that, and I would love to share with you if you've got some questions. It's part of that protein blend. It's not 100% soy based, and as you can see, it has chickpeas, which are really, really good for muscle mass retention. And I know that's a big deal. As we age, we want to keep our muscle mass. Great source of fiber. It's rice bran and apple fiber, and then it's got ancient grains and sprouts that, again, I just do not see us getting into our diet every day without that. Here's some different ideas that you can do with the smoothies. You can keep it simple, just mix it with water. You can use vanilla, almond milk, soy milk, whatever you want to do with it. Keeping it all plant-based is what we definitely recommend. It takes a while to find what your favorite one is, and then you kind of get addicted to that one. And when your body starts getting those nutrients, it just doesn't want to give that up. And they're very tasty. It's not chalky like most protein drinks are, and kids love them. That's one of the things that my friends, or the kids' friends, when they come over, one of the first things they ask is if I will make them a shake. And I heard one of them talking, the boys were drinking a shake one day. They had been out playing football in the yard, and they came in and they said, oh my gosh, Stacy, can you make me a shake? And so I made it for him, and he said, this is like the best thing ever. I heard him talking to Colin. It's like a whole meal in a cup. I love these things. And it really is. That's why it's called the Complete, because it can be a meal replacement. So we talked just a little bit. I touched on the research on Juice Plus, and really I could go on and on and on about the research, because that's what sets Juice Plus apart from all of the other companies out there that have a lot of testimonies, and we can tell you how it's affected us and what our experience has been. And you could argue that, but when you look at research, you can't argue the research that's behind it. And here's what we know to be true. Juice Plus contributes to cardiovascular wellness, better blood supply, better blood flow, better circulation, and I know that's a big deal for men, and reducing inflammation. It helps support your immune system. So that's what we found with Jared. It helped to balance his immune system out. Supports quality of life in ovarian cancer survivors. That was done at MD Anderson Cancer Center. It reduced insulin resistant and overweight boys. That was a very interesting study that has a follow-up study after that. Supports lung health in smokers. And obviously we're not advocating to smoke, but if you think about it, somebody who is continuing to damage their cells, there was still a support to their lung function and their lung health, getting healthier even as they were putting the contaminants in. It was still able to help their bodies to fight that. Supports healthy skin and gums, protects your DNA, reduces the oxidative stress we talked about, and even this is the reason why all of these things can happen, is because it's actually absorbed by the body. It is food. It is the fruits and vegetables themselves, and your body's able to use those nutrients just like it does food, because it is food. It's not isolated and taken apart. And it's really because of this research that it's supported by thousands of leading health professionals around the world. And I mentioned Dr. Phillips came to Montgomery area and he spoke for us. And there's doctors that go all around the country and they speak for Juice Plus. And it's really just an amazing, amazing concept that they would go away from their practice and they would miss working to be able to go out and share this message. They're not paid to do that, but they volunteer their time. And if you're, wherever you're at, we'll help you find a doctor to be able to go and hear, because they're, even hundreds around the country right now as we speak. It's pretty amazing because they're on a mission to inspire healthy living and really change the way that we think of healthcare from it's the doctor's responsibility excuse me, to make you healthy, versus understanding it's your responsibility to make you healthy, and you have a much larger impact than your doctor will ever have. And that's what we call prevention. The Children's Health Study is a program where kids ages 4 through 18 can get their Juice Plus for free. When an adult orders Juice Plus, they can be sponsored into this study. And here's what we have found, that this was after 1 year of being on Juice Plus. This is over 200,000 children and their parents were on this study. And they found that 56% were taking fewer over-the-counter or prescription drugs. 60% were missing fewer days of school. That means fewer days of work missed for the parents. 61% were eating more fruits and vegetables. 66% were visiting the doctor less. They're drinking more water. They're consuming less fast foods. They're more aware of their health, and they're having some sort of benefit, something that they're able to measure. Now, if you think of those statistics, especially taking fewer medication and visiting the doctor less, just like Jamie said, that's money back in my pocket. I can invest that money in their health and keeping them healthy, working to prevent disease, or I can end up paying that money in copays, and it's going to be paid one way or the other. And it's true for ourselves as the adults. We can invest in our health and our wellness, or we can continue to subsidize our illness by eating out and just making poor food choices and not being proactive. And, that choice really is ours, and it's not as difficult as we think. Dr. Richard Du Bois says, after looking at all the research done on Juice Plus, he recognizes there's nothing else available any place in the world with or without a prescription that has been shown to do all of those things in the human body. I think that's a really big statement. A really big statement. With or without a prescription, nothing else has been shown to do what Juice Plus can. I think that's a very encouraging response as well. And just like I said, you can either, subsidize the illness and invest in the medical cost, or you can invest in your health. And we're going to spend the money somewhere. Think about what you pay for cell phones, for cable. I can go to Walmart, shop for 20 minutes, put everything back out of the cart and onto the, back in the store, and walk out, never even miss those items that I had, and save, $40. So, the money's going to be spent somewhere. We've decided no cable, and we put that money towards our Juice Plus. It's part of our food bill as well, especially the shakes. And it really is affordable for families, especially when the kids can eat for free. It costs about the same as a cup of gourmet coffee for you to be on all of it. The trio is what we call the fruit, vegetable, and berries, and the shake. You really just can't beat that. So one of the things we like to talk about as well is one simple change ideas. It's this concept that seems like, how am I ever going to make all of these changes? And I know that was for us at first too, but what we found is if we just started making one change at a time, and we started with Juice Plus, that was the easy compliance to do. And then I bought a healthier peanut butter. Then we switched to a different bread. Then we decided we would eat a salad at every dinner. It's just been over time continuing to add to this. And I want to emphasize that Juice Plus is a piece of your health puzzle. It is not the end all be all. You don't get to just swallow some capsules and think that you're now going to be bulletproof, or you don't have to make any other changes. We're talking about living a lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle. It's not a diet. It's not a quick fix. It takes time for nutrition to work, and it's week after week, month after month, year after year of getting this nutrition into your body every day that there's a protective benefit. And, sometimes I'll have somebody say, well, I have diabetes. I took Juice Plus for a month and I really don't notice a difference. It took years for their body to get to that state of diabetic. It's going to take time for that body to heal. It's not like a Tylenol. I have a headache, I take a Tylenol, and, 20 minutes, it's gone. Nutrition takes time, and it takes time for those cells to turn over, but it's that consistency over time, continuing to add more good choices in, that it becomes a very different health picture. And that's what I want Jarrett to share with us. So Jarrett, if you could unmute yourself, just share with us, you painted a good picture of what your life was like before. What's your life like after taking Juice Plus? How has that changed?
Okay, so after I was on Juice Plus for about a year, that's when I noticed I can actually fight off a cold. I didn't realize you could do that. So it took about a year for my immune system to get back to where I wasn't going to the doctor. I was not getting colds, and I would actually get upset if I got a cold because I just didn't get sick. But I got out of the Air Force in 2003, and that's about when we started taking Juice Plus, and we moved to Alabama. Then I started a new job, and just over time, I still, even though we were making changes, I still was not eating right. And, I put on a pound here, a pound there, turns to 5 pounds, maybe 10 pounds. And before I know it, I know I'm overweight, but I'm really, I'm not concerned with that. I'm still not making all the choices that I know I can make. So we ended up moving back to New Mexico, which is where we're from. We lived there for 3 years. And then we ended up moving back to Alabama in 2009. And it wasn't until, I remember it was toward the end of the year in 2010, and I got a cold. And it was a pretty bad cold, and I hadn't been that sick. It was just kind of lingering. And I realized, wow, I haven't been sick like this in a long time. And I actually had a friend call me, and he asked me, a new donut shop had opened in town, and he asked me if I wanted to go get a donut at the donut shop. So I wasn't too sick for that. So I went to meet with him to get a donut. I wasn't feeling well still. So it was that at the end of 2010. And so we were eating donuts and talking, and I had to go blow my nose. And I went into the bathroom, and I looked at myself. And for the first time, I realized, wow, I just looked terrible. And not because I had not just that, because I had watery eyes and a runny nose. I looked terrible. And I never had really, I'm not the type of guy who I'm really concerned the way I look or how I dress. You can just ask my kids. But for the first time out of my life, I realized I was very unhappy with the way I looked. I thought, wow. And my kids and the people I see. And I just was really unhappy and upset about that. I was mad at myself. And it was then I realized, I had to take ownership of my health. I had to change my mind. Growing up as a kid, my parents controlled what I ate. I went to college and I started to control what I ate, but it wasn't good choices. And I still had the pressure. I still had to wear a uniform. I still had to pass a physical fitness test. So those were those outside pressures. And it wasn't until almost a decade later that I finally realized, I have to figure this out for myself. I have to take ownership. I have to change my mind. And I find after a couple of false starts, I started in 2011 in January. And by July, I had lost. Okay, so at the end of 2010, I stepped on the scale. So I'm 5'7". I'm a short guy. I weighed 198 pounds. And that does not look well on a short guy. So it horrified me. Almost being 200 pounds at 5'7", it was terrible. And so anyway, I started in January. I found a program that I started, and I stuck with it. And I started in January of 2011. By July, I had lost almost 50 pounds. I actually weighed less than I did when I was in the Air Force. And I've kept that off for 5 years. So all that to say, it was a lifestyle change. Juice Plus was the first. It was the catalyst that tipped the dominoes. And like Stacy said, we were adding more good things and we were getting rid of bad things. But it wasn't until I decided for myself, I'm the same as Jamie. I can't miss work. I don't get very many vacation days, so I can't miss work. I can't be sick. I don't want to be grouchy and grumpy and stay home because I don't feel good. I want to be around when the kids are gone, so Stacy and I can travel. We can go do fun things together. So I finally realized, I need to take control of my health, and that's what I did. And it's a daily battle sometimes. Even today, I was going to get a water bottle and all this candy in the snack bar. And normally I would have said, I'll just get some M&Ms or a Snickers and not even think about it. But realizing every decision I make about what I eat affects my future. And Juice Plus was the start of that, of a long, 13-year journey that I had no idea where it would take us, but now we're here, and, very thankful for that journey and the things we've learned and where I am now as healthy as I was when I was in my 20s, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Jarrett, for sharing that. And I love, again, what you said. This isn't about a diet, it's about a lifestyle. And sometimes we just need a jump start and you kind of don't know what to do. Maybe you know that there's some changes that need to happen, but you don't know where to begin. And so I wanted to share with you a program that we're doing. We're going to be starting this on Monday, and there's definitely time to still get in here with us. It's called the 10-Day Shred. And basically, we're shredding our diets of the bad things, and it's a jump start. We say to be summer ready for us girls, but maybe it's just a jump start to making better choices for yourself. And really what this is, it's a challenge for 10 days. I mean, we can do anything for 10 days. And what we're looking at is 2 different shakes a day. So we're going to replace 2 meals a day with Juice Plus. So with the Juice Plus smoothie, with the whole food shake, and you can add all kinds of things into it, like the recipes that I had shown up there. Taking the Juice Plus Trio capsules each day, and I want to explain why that's an important part of this. As you're losing weight, if that's one of your goals, you've got to be detoxing that whole time, because a fat cell's job is to engulf a toxin and keep it from getting to your liver and to your organs. If you lose the fat cell, that fat cell shrinks and releases that toxin. Your body's going to make another fat cell to hold on to that toxin to keep it away from the organs. So you want your body to be able to release that. And we know that fruits and vegetables do that. And that's one of the ways that Juice Plus helps. The capsules help to be able to help your body rid itself of those toxins. So those are the 2 components of things we're going to add each day. And then here are the things that we're going to take out: gluten, dairy, alcohol, caffeine, refined sugar, processed foods, and not eating past 6 p.m. And really what all of that does is it gives our body a chance to rest. A lot of those things are inflammatory foods. And so if your body's fighting that inflammation, it doesn't even have the time it needs to repair. If we're eating after 6 p.m., there's not enough time during the night to fast. And when you're not digesting during the night, then your body sends out what's called human growth hormone, which is what helps your body to repair those cells and to get healthier. That's where that repairing happens, but it can't happen if you've got insulin in your bloodstream. So that's why we're not eating past 6 p.m. This is actually part of a larger program called the T30, a Transform 30. So it's basically this. Same thing, but they do it in 30 days, and then often people will go to 120 days. Sometimes they just start with 1 shake a day, or go back to 1 shake a day. But we thought, let's do this for 10 days, and it may be that you adopt one of these habits and you keep it going after 10 days. Like maybe you continue with the just 1 shake a day, or doing 2 shakes a day. Maybe you decide, okay, no more dairy for me, or really cutting out the processed foods, or no more candy, or refined sugar. Even if you just pick one of those, that's one more step in the right direction to that healthy lifestyle that we talked about. And I really want to encourage you. These are 3 great documentaries by men that have been talking about their health transformations, and maybe you have seen them. Super Size Me, this guy decided he was going to eat McDonald's 3 times a day for 1 month and see what would happen to him. And it's very interesting. I believe all 3 of these are on Netflix. If you've got Netflix, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. This guy was a trucker, and he just found himself very overweight and a lot of health problems. And so he began juicing, and he would juice 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day, and that's all he drank. And then he documented what happened to him, what results that he had. And really, Juice Plus is that same concept of juicing. They just do all the work for us. It's the fruits and vegetables juiced and then dried, put into the capsule. But I think you'll appreciate seeing that. And then Forks Over Knives is also another documentary that talks about, the food choices that we make that really can prevent having to have surgeries and the disease process later on. So if you've not watched any of those, I really highly recommend them. And, this is part of what we do. This is what I've, dedicated the last 13 years of my life. And really, this has been the first men's event that I have done. And I'm ashamed to say that, because I think, like I said at the beginning, you guys have an incredible impact that you can make on your family's decisions. Like, I love it when Jarrett tells me, he's going to make this health change, or he encourages as a family to go outside and be active. And I can tell you that that's one of the best Mother's Day gifts that you can give your wife, is to be proactive about your health. I know when Jarrett started making those changes, it gave me back a peace of mind and a security to know that he cared enough about himself that he would begin to take care of himself. And I saw that, and it was a lot of peace of mind. I was worried about his health. I knew I couldn't be a nag and tell him, don't eat that. And he was a grown man. He could choose to eat what he wanted. And I knew that wasn't going to help, but I was very concerned about it. And I started to think, his grandfather had a heart attack in his, I think it was early 40s. Like, that same thing could happen to him. And if it did, what would life be like without him? And it was a hard thing for me to even think about, but it was something I was concerned. And I can guarantee you that your wife has been concerned about that as well. It's okay to take care of yourself. And it's a very compassionate and loving thing to do for your family, is to take ownership and take control of your health as well. So I just want to thank you all for being on here tonight. I'm going to stop the recording of this.